The pristine white sands of Montego Bay kissed the edge of turquoise waters that February morning in 2018. Paradise Cove Resort stood as a monument to luxury, a haven where couples renewed their love amid ocean breezes and swaying palms. Within hours, Suite 714 would transform from a sanctuary of romance to a crime scene outlined in red. What would you do if everything you believed about your marriage was a carefully crafted lie? For 42-year-old Desmond Powell, the answer came in a moment of rage that changed multiple lives forever. 1 in 3 marriages experience financial infidelity, hidden accounts, secret spending, unauthorized loans. Yet fewer than 2% discover their spouse has constructed an entirely fabricated identity. Even rarer are those who learn their partner has systematically drained $1.2 million from their life's work. The most dangerous deception isn't what they hide, notes criminal psychologist Dr. Alina Mercer. It's what they show you, the perfect performance that keeps you from questioning deeper. The statistics paint a grim reality. Relationships ending due to financial betrayal have increased 37% in the past decade. More disturbing still, 64% of victims report the devastation of financial infidelity exceeds that of sexual affairs. Money secrets become relationship homicide, death by 1,000 transactions. For 8 years, Desmond believed he knew the woman who shared his bed, his business, his dreams. The truth waited silently in encrypted files, offshore accounts, and hotel receipts, a digital trail of betrayal that would ignite an explosive confrontation on what should have been a celebration of love. Welcome to Guilty Minds Crime Stories, where we examine the psychological breaking points that transform ordinary people into headlines. Today's case dissects how paradise became a crime scene, how celebration became tragedy, and how 8 years of marriage collapsed in 17 blood-soaked minutes. If this exploration of trust, betrayal, and psychological breaking points interests you, help our channel grow by hitting subscribe and notification bell. Your engagement allows us to continue bringing these crucial stories to light. Now, let's step into the world Desmond and Brianna Powell constructed, a world about to shatter beyond recognition. In Kingston's elite social circles, Desmond and Brianna Powell represented Jamaican success incarnate. Their arrival at galas and charity functions drew admiring glances. He in tailored suits that honored his humble beginnings, she draped in designs from her frequent international trips. They moved through rooms with practiced grace, completing each other's sentences and sharing private jokes that made others long for such connection. They weren't just wealthy, they were aspirational, recalled Marcus Hendricks, a frequent guest at their legendary dinner parties. Desmond created these incredible fusion dishes while Brianna charmed everyone. They seemed to have decoded the secret to having it all. Their origin story became neighborhood legend. Desmond, raised in a tin-roofed home in Trelawney Parish, had worked as a line cook at 16, saving every dollar toward culinary school. Brianna, the daughter of middle-class educators, earned scholarships through university and an MBA. They met when she consulted on his first restaurant loan. She saw potential where banks saw risk. That first modest eatery expanded to 3 upscale locations within 5 years. Jamaican Soul, their flagship restaurant in Kingston's financial district, featured 2-month waiting lists for reservations. Their fusion approach, traditional Jamaican flavors with international techniques, earned critical acclaim and tourist dollars. Their wedding in 2010 merged their growing empires. Brianna's international consulting connections brought wealthy clients. Desmond's culinary talents kept them loyal. They purchased property in Kingston's exclusive Norbrook neighborhood, renovating a colonial home with ocean views and installing a demonstration kitchen for Desmond's private events. Social media documented their apparent bliss. Anniversaries in Paris, business expansions, philanthropic endeavors, supporting culinary scholarships for disadvantaged youth. Their hashtag Powell Power became shorthand for Black excellence and entrepreneurial success. The initial shift appeared subtle. In mid-2016, Brianna's business trips increased. Miami one week, New York the next. Their joint appearances decreased. Desmond maintained their social calendar alone, explaining Brianna's absence with references to expanding international opportunities. The first time I noticed something odd was at their Christmas party in 2017, said longtime friend Jordan Waters. Desmond kept checking his phone, looking toward the door. When someone asked about Brianna, his expression changed completely before he recovered with a rehearsed answer about her flight being delayed. She never showed. Their social media posts grew less frequent, more staged. Photos together decreased, replaced by individual accomplishments and carefully framed solo shots. Comment sections that once overflowed with their playful banter fell silent. Have you ever sensed something was wrong in a relationship without identifying what? Like noting a room feels different before realizing someone moved the furniture? That inexplicable awareness that connections are fraying at edges no one can see? For those closest to the Powells, this intuition grew impossible to ignore. By early 2017, Desmond's concerns transcended vague intuition. His restaurant managers noted Brianna's unexpected audit requests, comprehensive financial reviews conducted while Desmond attended industry events. Bank notifications alerted him to transfers between accounts he rarely monitored, always explained away as tax optimization strategies when questioned. She became masterful at making me feel financially naive, Desmond later told investigators. Any question about money ended with me apologizing for not understanding her expertise. Phone records revealed a pattern. Brianna's business calls consistently came between 11 p.m. and midnight, always taken on their balcony regardless of weather. When Desmond asked about a Miami area code that appeared repeatedly, she cited a difficult client with boundary issues. March brought the first domestic disturbance call to their home. Neighbors reported shouting after Desmond discovered hotel receipts from South Beach on weekends. Brianna claimed to be in New York. Police records documented a verbal disagreement with no physical confrontation. 2 similar calls followed in May and December. LaToya Powell, Desmond's sister, witnessed the deterioration firsthand. He showed me credit card statements with duplicate expenses. 2 hotel rooms charged simultaneously in different cities. When confronted, Brianna produced conference agendas and colleague emails corroborating her version of events. The evidence mounted. Perfume Desmond never purchased, text messages deleted before he could see notifications, sudden password changes on joint accounts, unexplained cash withdrawals. Each confrontation ended identically. Brianna produced plausible explanations, followed by concerns about Desmond's growing paranoia and need for therapy. Police psychologist Dr. Raymond Chen explains this common pattern. The gaslighting perpetrator creates 2 realities, the one they control and the one their victim increasingly doubts. The victim begins questioning their own perception rather than their partner's honesty. Despite these red flags, Desmond planned their anniversary getaway at Paradise Cove. His journal, recovered from their home after the murder, revealed his reasoning. I need certainty before making irreversible decisions. Either we heal this marriage or I confirm what I fear. Living in perpetual doubt has become unbearable. Financial records show he withdrew $12,000 for the trip, a last attempt at recapturing their connection. What Desmond couldn't know was that Brianna had already consulted divorce attorneys, indicated by emails recovered later. She accepted the vacation while simultaneously arranging meetings with Vasquez for the following month to finalize their exit strategy. Denial serves as psychological armor, explains relationship therapist Dr. Vanessa Thompson. Many betrayed partners orchestrate elaborate opportunities for truth precisely when they've subconsciously accepted deception. The Paradise confrontation represents both an attempt at salvation and preparation for destruction. February 14, 2018 dawned clear and brilliant as the Powell's driver navigated the coastal road to Montego Bay. Security cameras captured their arrival at Paradise Cove Resort, Desmond escorting Brianna through marble lobbies while attendants handled their designer luggage. His hand rested lightly on her lower back, a gesture of intimacy that masked his internal turmoil. Mr. Powell confirmed their champagne delivery 3 times. Recalled reception manager Thomas Grant. He requested specific flowers, dinner reservations at exclusive times. Every detail reflected someone determined to create perfect memories. Their oceanfront suite featured panoramic views, a private infinity pool, and discreet staff access. The first night passed without incident. Dinner at the resort's award-winning restaurant, followed by a sunset walk captured on security footage. Witnesses described polite conversation, minimal physical contact, and Brianna's frequent phone checks when Desmond looked away. The second day established their fatal pattern. Desmond attended a morning cooking demonstration, while Brianna claimed to review work presentations poolside. Resort Wi-Fi logs revealed her 2-hour video call with an unidentified Miami number. That afternoon, she booked a 3-hour spa treatment, the window that sealed her fate. He appeared completely calm, requesting our premium couples massage for the following day, spa director Elise Montclair reported. When his wife mentioned her exhaustion and desire for immediate treatment, he encouraged her to go alone. Nothing in his demeanor suggested upcoming violence. At 5:43 p.m., security footage showed Desmond returning to their suite alone. Resort keycard logs recorded no exits until Brianna's return at 8:17 p.m. What transpired in those 154 minutes would later become central to both prosecution and defense arguments. Desmond's subsequent statement revealed his methodical actions, attempting Brianna's laptop password twice before realizing she still used their wedding date. The files he discovered documented 3 years of calculated betrayal, bank transfers, alternate identity documents, and intimate correspondence with Ricardo Vasquez dating to 2015. Most damning was a folder labeled Exit Strategy, containing transfer instructions for remaining restaurant profits, property liquidation timelines, a Miami condominium purchase agreement, divorce filing templates, a detailed schedule for Brianna's disappearance planned for April 2018. Finding this digital evidence represents a psychological earthquake, explains forensic psychologist Dr. Maya Richardson. The victim experiences reality collapse, every memory simultaneously recontextualized as manipulation rather than connection. When confronted by devastating betrayal, the human brain enters crisis mode. Research shows blood flow decreases to rational centers while flooding emotional regions. Studies of similar cases identify a 40-minute window where individuals experience dissociative reactions, watching themselves from outside while performing actions they cannot later fully recall. For Desmond Powell, that window opened when his wife of 8 years entered their luxury suite at 8:17 p.m., smiled casually, and asked about dinner plans, completely unaware he had just discovered her ultimate deception. Have you ever wondered what might push a nonviolent person beyond their breaking point? Comment below with your thoughts on psychological boundaries. What Desmond discovered in those encrypted folders shattered more than his marriage. It demolished his understanding of reality. The laptop revealed not merely an affair, but an elaborate criminal enterprise operating under his own roof for nearly 3 years. The financial evidence painted a methodical timeline. Beginning in June 2015, Brianna had established offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands under a shell corporation named Powell International Ventures, similar enough to their legitimate business to avoid suspicion during cursory banking reviews. Initial transfers appeared as standard business diversification, with documentation bearing Desmond's forged signatures. Email exchanges with Ricardo Vasquez detailed their financial architecture. Vasquez, 45, operated several import-export businesses between Miami and Kingston, providing perfect cover for regular meetings disguised as supplier negotiations. His company records, stored in Brianna's cloud account, listed her as financial director under the name Brianna Jenkins, her mother's maiden name. The level of planning demonstrates extraordinary premeditation, noted forensic accountant Teresa Rodriguez during trial testimony. They created a complete parallel financial system, averaging $33,000 in diverted funds monthly, small enough to avoid triggering automatic fraud alerts. The stolen $1.2 million represented approximately 60% of the restaurant chain's accumulated profits. More devastating to investigators, evidence that Brianna had deliberately stalled expansion opportunities that might have required additional financial scrutiny or investment partners. Most calculating were Brianna's personal preparations. Her cloud storage contained Florida driver's license application materials under her alias, correspondence with Miami real estate agents about waterfront properties, medical records transferred to Florida providers, resume and interview preparations for financial firms with no knowledge of her marital status, hair and wardrobe transformation plans scheduled for March 2018. Text exchanges between Brianna and Vasquez revealed casual cruelty toward Desmond. He still believes Miami trips are for banking conferences, she wrote in one message. Asked about expanding restaurants there so he could visit more often. Adorable how he creates problems I've already solved. Their relationship communications contained no expressions of guilt, only logistical planning and occasional impatience with timeline delays. Vasquez repeatedly questioned when she would finish extracting assets and make the transition permanent. The final document Desmond discovered, timestamped just 3 days before their anniversary trip, delivered the ultimate betrayal. Final Departure Checklist .docx detailed Brianna's planned April disappearance, including transfer remaining accessible funds, EST $245,000, file divorce papers during Desmond's scheduled culinary festival appearance, stage emotional breakdown necessitating mental health retreat, relocate permanently to Miami residence, begin public relationship with Vasquez after appropriate interval. Have you ever wondered how well you truly know your partner? What secrets might be hiding in plain sight on devices you share space with daily? Share your thoughts in the comments about warning signs you might look for after hearing this story. Paradise Cove security cameras documented Brianna's return at precisely 8:17 p.m. She entered the suite wearing a white linen dress, carrying shopping bags from the resort boutique. The final moments of ordinary life captured in high definition. Inside waited Desmond, seated at the desk, her laptop open before him. The room service table remained set with untouched food, 2 champagne flutes filled. Resort records show he had ordered her favorite meal, grilled lobster tail with mango salsa, at 7:30 p.m., timing its arrival for her return. When she first walked in, she didn't notice me at her computer, Desmond later told investigators. She was checking her phone, smiling at messages. I remember thinking that smile wasn't mine anymore. Maybe it never was. According to Desmond's testimony, he began with a single question: who is Ricardo Vasquez? The security footage shows no one exited after this moment, though audio wasn't captured. The reconstruction of events relies on Desmond's statements, forensic evidence, and sounds reported by neighboring guests. At 8:22 p.m., guests in the adjacent suite reported hearing a woman's voice escalate from conversational to defensive. The male voice remained at a consistent volume. Glass shattered at approximately 8:27 p.m. Forensics later confirmed this as a champagne flute thrown against the bathroom door. Technical analysis of Brianna's phone, recovered at the scene, showed she attempted to remotely delete cloud accounts at 8:29 p.m., likely after realizing the extent of Desmond's discovery. The deletion failed. Her password had already been changed. The psychological state during such confrontations often produces fight-or-flight reactions, explained Dr. Catherine Williams, forensic psychologist who testified at trial. When deception is exposed, the deceiver typically cycles through predictable responses: denial, minimization, deflection, and finally, when those fail, attack. Resort staff reported hearing raised voices at 8:31 p.m., but deemed it typical couples argument, not warranting intervention. The housekeeper's wellness check at 8:34 p.m. received no response despite audible movement inside. Phone records show Brianna attempted to call Vasquez at 8:36 p.m. The call connected for 32 seconds before abruptly ending. What was said remains unknown. Vasquez claimed during immunity negotiations that he heard arguing before disconnection. By 8:40 p.m., multiple guests had complained about disturbances. Security supervisor James Cortez approached the suite but hesitated outside after hearing what he described as furniture being moved violently, followed by a female voice repeatedly shouting, "You've ruined everything." The final moments happened quickly. Forensics established that between 8:42 to 8:45 p.m., Brianna suffered multiple stab wounds from the steak knife provided with room service. The fatal injury severed her carotid artery. Blood spatter analysis indicated she moved from the desk area toward the balcony doors before collapsing. When security finally entered at 8:52 p.m., they discovered Desmond seated calmly in the desk chair, Brianna's blood covering his white resort shirt, the open laptop still displaying the final departure checklist document. His first words to authorities: she was leaving anyway. The resort security cameras captured Brianna's final living moments in stark clarity. At 8:17 p.m., she strolled through the hallway, shopping bags swinging lightly, keycards retrieving her phone from her purse. Her face showed no concern, no awareness of what awaited beyond the mahogany door. The timestamp matters, prosecutor Helena Morgan emphasized during trial. 8:17 begins the 17-minute window that transformed a luxury suite into a homicide scene. Brianna entered to find Desmond seated at the desk, the room service trolley perfectly arranged, champagne poured. According to Desmond's statement, she initially didn't notice him at her laptop, instead moving toward the bathroom while mentioning her spa experience. The precise moment of realization came when she spotted her open computer. "Who is Ricardo Vasquez?" Desmond asked. What followed was reconstructed through multiple witness testimonies and forensic evidence. At 8:22 p.m., honeymoon couple Michael and Teresa Delaney reported hearing a female voice transition from normal conversation to defensive shouting. The man's voice remained controlled. She denied everything at first, Desmond told investigators. Claimed Vasquez was a client. When I showed her the transfers, she switched to insisting I'd misunderstood legitimate business practices. Retired Professor Edgar Williams, staying in Suite 712, described hearing objects striking walls at approximately 8:26 p.m. Forensics later matched these sounds to a champagne flute shattered against the bathroom door and a lamp knocked onto the floor, creating the glass fragments embedded in Brianna's feet. The argument escalated at 8:29 p.m. when Brianna's phone records show attempted access to cloud storage accounts, likely trying to delete evidence. When this failed, witnesses described a significant escalation in volume. "She wasn't apologetic," Desmond stated. "She seemed annoyed that I discovered the truth prematurely. She said I was never supposed to know until she was already gone." According to psychological experts who reviewed the case, this dismissal of his emotional reality likely triggered Desmond's breakdown. Dr. Leanne Merquez testified about narcissistic injury, the profound psychological wound when someone realizes their entire relationship foundation was manufactured. At 8:36 p.m., Brianna attempted calling Vasquez, connected briefly, then the call terminated. Resort employee Renee Hamilton, delivering towels nearby, heard a female voice shouting, "You've ruined everything," followed by heavy furniture movement. The fatal interaction occurred between 8:42 and 8:45 p.m. Blood spatter analysis indicated Brianna moved from the desk toward the balcony doors, while Desmond followed with the steak knife from their room service dinner. The multiple stab wounds suggested frenzied attack rather than calculated assault. By 8:52 p.m., when security supervisor James Cortez entered with his master key, Desmond sat motionless in the desk chair. Brianna lay unresponsive near the balcony. The laptop screen still displayed the final departure checklist, the document detailing how she planned to vanish from his life. First responders entered Suite 714 at 9:04 p.m. to find a scene of stark contrasts, luxury accommodations juxtaposed against fatal violence. Paramedic David Langston documented excessive blood loss from multiple penetrating wounds and pronounced Brianna Powell dead at 9:07 p.m. The suspect remained seated throughout initial contact, noted Officer Tanya Rodriguez in her report. He maintained eye contact but responded minimally to questions, exhibiting classic shock symptoms: lowered body temperature, reduced verbal engagement, and apparent time disorientation. Crime scene technicians identified 17 distinct blood patterns, 5 overturned furniture pieces, and 3 separate groupings of defensive wounds on Brianna's arms. The murder weapon, a standard resort steak knife, had penetrated vital organs and severed the carotid artery. His first coherent statement was, "Check the computer," Detective Marcus Garvey testified. He repeated it several times, insisting the evidence there explained everything. When we secured the laptop, he visibly relaxed, as if the burden of explanation had transferred to the digital evidence. Initial investigation confirmed Desmond's claims within hours. Financial records showed systematic fund diversions dating back 37 months. Digital forensics recovered deleted communications between Brianna and Ricardo Vasquez, discussing their relationship and financial schemes. Authorities located Vasquez attempting to depart Miami International Airport for Venezuela on February 17th. His luggage contained $43,000 cash and documentation for multiple identities. During initial questioning, he claimed ignorance about Brianna's marriage, portraying himself as another victim of her deceptions. Vasquez recognized his precarious position immediately, recalled prosecutor Helena Morgan. He offered comprehensive evidence about their wider financial network in exchange for immunity on the most serious charges. This cooperation revealed connections to 4 additional co-conspirators and a money laundering operation spanning 3 countries. Vasquez received a 3-year sentence instead of the potential 20-year maximum his crimes typically carried. Forensic psychologist Dr. Elise Montgomery provided expert testimony differentiating crimes of passion from premeditated violence. The classic crime of passion occurs when cognitive processing becomes overwhelmed by emotional flooding. The perpetrator experiences a neurological hijacking. Rational brain functions temporarily surrender to limbic system control. She noted key indicators supporting this classification in Desmond's case: no preparation for violence, no attempt to hide evidence or escape, immediate confession, and apparent dissociative state following the act. These suggest someone who acted during temporary psychological fracture rather than calculated intent. The prosecution maintained that the 17 minutes between Brianna's return and security intervention provided sufficient time for premeditation. This central question would become the focal point of Desmond Powell's trial. Kingston's Central Court became the stage for Jamaica's most publicized case of 2019. Crowds gathered daily, news crews established permanent positions, and social media erupted with hashtags supporting both victim and defendant. Prosecutor Helena Morgan pursued first-degree murder charges, arguing the 17-minute time frame provided ample opportunity for Desmond to consider his actions. Mr. Powell made a conscious choice with each of the 9 stab wounds, she told jurors during opening statements. He had alternatives: leaving the room, calling management, contacting authorities. Instead, he chose lethal violence. Defense attorney Carlton Bennett constructed his case around temporary psychological incapacity. My client experienced catastrophic psychological trauma upon discovering his entire marriage was an elaborate fraud, Bennett argued. This case represents the textbook definition of extreme emotional disturbance. Psychiatric experts dominated the middle phase of the 2-week trial. Dr. Marcus Henderson, testifying for the defense, introduced research on identity collapse syndrome, the profound disorientation when fundamental relationship assumptions disintegrate simultaneously. Mr. Powell experienced the equivalent of psychological free fall, Henderson explained. His financial security, marital trust, and basic reality perception vanished in minutes. Such conditions can produce temporary dissociative states where individuals observe their actions without feeling control over them. Prosecution experts countered that Desmond's methodical business history suggested someone capable of emotional regulation even under extreme stress. The jury deliberated for 7 days, requesting multiple clarifications regarding legal definitions of premeditation versus crimes of passion. Their eventual verdict, voluntary manslaughter rather than murder, reflected their conclusion that Desmond acted during extreme emotional disturbance without sufficient cooling-off period. Judge Eliza Santos sentenced him to 12 years imprisonment, noting, "While the court acknowledges the extraordinary betrayal you suffered, civilized society cannot permit violent retribution, regardless of provocation." Do you believe the justice system adequately handles crimes committed under extreme emotional circumstances? Would you have reached a different verdict had you served on this jury? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're finding this case analysis valuable, please subscribe to support more in-depth examinations of complex crimes. The Powell case transformed Jamaica's cultural landscape, sparking national conversations about financial transparency in marriages. Talk radio programs dedicated weeks to discussing financial infidelity, while relationship counselors reported 40% increases in couples seeking preventative guidance. Banking regulations underwent significant revisions following the trial. The Jamaican Financial Services Commission implemented the Powell Protocol, requiring enhanced verification for joint business accounts, including quarterly in-person confirmations from all signatories. International transfers exceeding $10,000 now trigger automatic notifications to all account holders. Financial institutions previously viewed marriages as inherently trustworthy units, explained banking regulator Marcia Thompson. The Powell case demonstrated how this assumption creates vulnerability. Dr. Henderson's identity collapse syndrome theory gained international attention within psychological communities. His subsequent research identified common elements in cases where relationship deception triggered violent responses. These aren't conventional domestic violence scenarios with escalating patterns, Henderson explained. They represent psychological annihilation, the complete destruction of someone's understanding of their lived reality. Global statistics reveal disturbing patterns. International banking associations documented 4,200 cases of spousal financial fraud exceeding $100,000 between 2015-2020. Of these, 11% resulted in physical violence, with 3% ending in homicide or attempted homicide. Educational initiatives emerged throughout Caribbean nations, with financial literacy programs now including modules on protecting personal assets within relationships. Prenuptial agreements, previously uncommon in Jamaican culture, increased 300% in the 2 years following the Powell verdict. Perhaps most significantly, the case created new legal vocabulary for discussing psychological breaking points when reality itself becomes weaponized against individuals by those they trusted most. Today, Desmond Powell serves his sentence at Tower Street Adult Correctional Center, maintaining complete silence except during monthly visits from his sister LaToya. Prison officials describe him as a model inmate who assists in the facility's culinary program but avoids discussing his past. The restaurant empire continues under family management, restructured as Powell Family Enterprises. 30% of profits now fund organizations supporting financial fraud victims and domestic violence prevention programs. Legal textbooks now reference the Powell defense when addressing crimes committed under extreme psychological duress. Marriage counselors cite the case when discussing transparency between partners. This tragedy illuminates how quickly trust built over years can collapse in moments. While nothing justifies taking a human life, the case forces us to examine the psychological devastation when intimate deception destroys someone's fundamental reality. If you found this analysis compelling, please subscribe for more examinations of cases where ordinary lives transform through extraordinary circumstances. Share your thoughts below on what this case reveals about human psychology under extreme betrayal.